सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरते यौपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम् न विलक्षणत्वादस्य तथात्वं च शब्दात् अभिमानिव्यपदेशस्तु विशेषानुगतिभ्यां दृश्यते तो। सो विलक्षणत्वात् अस्य न ब्रह्मस्य जगतः निमित्तकारणं प्रकृतिश्च so that Brahma cannot be the Prakriti, the material cause of this universe. Vilakshanatvat, owing to the dissimilarity. What's the dissimilarity? The Jagat is Achetanam and Ashuddham. Jagat is insentient, is impure. Brahman is Chetanam and Shuddham. Thus, there are these contradictory characteristics between Brahman and Jagat. Therefore, they cannot be related as material cause and effect. Then the Ekadeshi came with the argument that Shrutarthanupatti. So, by Shrutartha Upapatti, by Shrutartha Upapatti, Arthapatti, by Shrutarthapatti, meaning by the Arthapatti presumption, we presume that Jagat must be Chetanam, it must be sentient. Why is it so? Because Upanishad says so. Upanishad says Brahma is Jagat Karanam, Brahma is Chetanam, and since there must be similarity of characteristics between material cause and effect, therefore Jagat or the universe also must be Chetanam, must be sentient. Then the question was asked, if the whole Jagat is Chetanam, then why do you find this division that certain things are sentient, others are insentient? How to explain the difference? Ekadeshi said that we find objects in the world insentient not because consciousness is not there, because consciousness is not manifest. Etasmadeva cha, so avibhavanam tu chaitanasya parinama visheshat bhavishyati. That Brahman gets transformed in a certain way, like tables and chairs, etc. Therefore, the consciousness or sentiency of Brahman is not evident. Whereas, if Brahman gets transformed as this physical body, etc., then the sentiency is evident. It's a matter of evidence, perception, and not perception. Manifestation and non-manifestation of sentiency, that makes the difference, and not the absence of consciousness. So Purvapakshi said that even if you accept this argument, then also we advance two reasons, that Jagat is Achetanam and Jagat is Ashuddham. Suppose we explain this way that Jagat is Chetanam, then also Ashuddhatam still remains, and therefore there is still this similarity between Brahman and Jagat. And secondly, really speaking, we cannot even accept that the Jagat is Chetanam, because Upanishad itself says Vijnanam cha Satyam cha Nritam cha Satyam abhavat. Satyam, Paramatma, abhavat became Vijnanam cha Avijnanam cha, sentient and insentient. So Shruti herself accepts that there are many entities here that are insentient, and therefore you can't say that the whole universe is sentient, and therefore this argument of Ekadeshi also has been refuted. So then he says, wait a minute, Ekadeshi said that, see, in the Upanishad we find the reference of the elements being sentient. He says, Mrut abbravid, apo abruvan. The Shatapada Brahmana says, the earth spoke, the water spoke. Chhandogya says, tat teja aikshata, taha apa aikshanta. That teja, the element fire, deliberated, the element water, deliberated. That means that these elements are sentient. That's what Shruti says in some places. Tehe me pranaha aham shreyase vividamanaha brahma jagmuhu. These pranas, the sense organs, disputing among them for establishing their superiority or supremacy, they then Brahma Jagmuhu, they went to Brahmaji. Devacham Uchuhu Tvam na Udgayati. Devatas told this organ of speech, please recite the Samaveda for us, Udgita for us. Therefore, the Shruti talks about the sentiency of the sense of the elements as well as sense organs. So Uttara, the answer was given, Abhimani Vyapadeshastu Vishesha Anugatibhyam. That reference, The Purupakshi says, Sankhya says that when the Shruti says Mrit abravit taha apaha bruvan, when it says that the earth said, the water said, tat teja aikshata, the element fire deliberated, abhimani vyapadeshastu, what is meant is the abhimani or adhisthana devata. The reference is to the presiding deities and not to elements themselves. So even though the Upanishad says Samrit Abraved, we should understand by the word Mrit, the Abhimani Devata, the Devata identified with Mrit or presiding over Mrit or the earth. Why is it so? Vishesh Anugatibhyam. So the Vishesha we have already pointed out. Visheshoi Bhoktrunam Bhutendriyanam cha Chetana Achetana Paribhag Lakshana Prag Abhita. We already pointed out that Bhokta, the experiencer, is a conscious being, and Bhogya, what is enjoyed or experienced, is insentient. Sarva Chetanayam chaso namopadyeta. And if according to you everything is sentient, see the difference is that Bhokta or Karta is always Swatantra and Bhogya or Karma is always Partantra. So Pradhana and Gauna, primary and secondary, independent and dependent, these divisions are there. Therefore, we say that there is Bhogya, there is objects of experience that are insentient. So, how can you say everything is sentient? In that case, Bhokta, Bhogya, that kind of division would not be possible. Not only that, but the Kausitakina, Etaha vai Devataha, Aham Shreyase Vivedamanaha. The followers of Kausitaki clearly use the word Devata, the presiding deities, for prana or the sense organs, leaving no doubt that by the sense organs is meant the presiding deities. Also, Anugatibhyam, because of the going or in hearing, Agnir Vag Bhutva Mukham Pravishata, the deity fire, having become the speech, entered the mouth, means that the fire follows the speech, inheres in speech, pervades the speech. So when the speech speaks, it is a fire that speaks. Teha prana prajapatim pitaram etya uchuhu. Says clearly that the sense organs in fact went. So going of the sense organ not possible unless it refers to the presiding deities. Tasmad vilakshanameva idam brahmana jagat. So idam jagat brahmana vilakshanam. Therefore this jagat or the creation is quite distinct or different in characteristic from Brahma. Vilakshanatvacha na brahma prakritikam. This jagat is vilakshanam, altogether different in characteristics. Therefore, Brahman cannot be the material cause of this universe. Iti akshipte. So when the Sankhyas have developed this Purvapaksha, then Pratividatte. Now the Sutrakara, the Siddhanta, in fact, replies to this. Drishyate tu. Drishyate hi loke chetanattvena prasidebhya purushadebhya vilakshanam keshanakadinam utpattehi. Who says that material cause and effect cannot be dissimilar in character? We see quite dissimilar things as related as the material cause and effect. Drishyate hi loke chetanattvena prasiddhebhya purushadebhya. the human beings and living beings such as human beings. Vilakshananam keshanakadinam utpatti. From them we see utpatti, the creation of the kesha, the hair, nakha, the nail, which are insentient. Achetanatvena cha prasiddhebhya gomayadibhya vrishchikadinam. And gomaya, the cow dung, which is well known to be insentient, from there we see the creation of such thing as scorpion, which is a sentient or conscious being. So this is what Vedanta said. So Sankhya says, Nano, achetanaaneva purushadi sharirani achetanaanam keshanakadinam karanani. Says, wait a minute, it is not the conscious human being that is the cause of the hair and the nail, it is his unconscious body. Insentient body is the cause of the insentient nails and hair. And so also insentient cow dung is the cause of the insentient body of a scorpion. So insentient is the cause of insentient. Uchyate, even if this is so, then also Siddhanta says, this is what we have to say. Evamapi kinchit achetanam chetanasya ayatana bhavam upagacchati kinchit na. Still look, the human body becomes the ayatanam, becomes the basis for a conscious being, and tables and chairs don't. And so, sharirasya keshadinam cha pranitva apranitva rupam vailakshanim asti. This body is a prani, so human is a living being. From that comes out the kesha and the nakha, which are so not living beings. Sajiva and nirjiva, possessing prana, not possessing prana. Similarly, this gomaya is not a prani, and from that comes out a prani, namely vrishchika. So this distinction is there. Even if you claim that insentient body is a product of the insentient gomaya or cow dung, or insentient body of human being gives rise to insentient hair or nail, still this distinction is there. That when prani gives rise to something that is insentient or lifeless, and lifeless is something that gives rise to life, that distinction is very much there. Swastiva vailakshanyam, in that sense, vailakshanyam, the dissimilarity is very much there between the cause and effect. Second also, mahamshayam parinamika sva viprakarshaha. And look, what a great distance there is between the cause and effect. So, mahan svabhava viprakarshaha. What a great difference in nature is between cause and effect. Purushadinam keshanakadinam cha swarupadi bhedat. Look at the appearance of his body and look at the appearance of a nail or hair. What a great difference there is between them also. So, parinamika keshadinam swagata parinamatmaka ityartha. Tattat keshadigata parinatmatmaka. So, mahan, the svabhava viprakarshaha. The nature of kesha is one thing, and the nature of the body is another thing. Nature of goma is one thing. So, even though sentient the insentiency may be common between Gomaya and the body of the scorpion, or between the body of the human being and the hair. And still, what a difference in Swarupa, in their nature and appearance and form. So, still that as far as the Vilakshanatvam is concerned, the dissimilarity is concerned, is still great dissimilarities there. So, Sankhya is presenting similarity between the material between the two things as the reason for their being related as material cause and effect. We are showing the dissimilarity here. Atyanta sarupye cha prakriti vikarvave praliyeta. If two entities are totally similar, then they are the same entities. They cannot be related as cause and effect anyway. That cause and effect relation itself will disappear between two totally similar entities. Unless, of course, now you can talk of cloning, then it's a different matter. So with cloning, you can produce an identical body. Someday it will happen. So this cell becomes the cause of the other cell. And still some difference will be there, I am sure. They cannot be absolutely identical. Some difference is going to be there. But a human being will come out of a human being. That much will happen. Atha uchyeta. So we pointed out a great dissimilarity between the human body and the hair and the nail, or great dissimilarity between the cow dung and the body of a scorpion. So he points out the similarity. Atha uchyeta asti kaschit parthivatvadi svabhavaha purushadinam keshanakadishu anuvartamana. That human body has its cause in elements as earth. In Keshanaka also you find that earthliness. So see, there is a inherence of the characteristics of the material cause and effect. Gomayadinam vrishikadishu iti. Gomaya also is parthiva, product of earth, and the body of vrishika also is parthiva. So there is that inherence of the nature of the material cause and effect. If that is enough for you, so Sankhya says, shows the similarity. We ask him, if that amount of similarity is enough, the some characteristics of the material cause, they inhere in the effect. If that is enough for you to accept them as cause and effect, then ब्रह्मणोऽपि तर्हि सत्तालक्षणः स्वभावः आकाशादिषु अनुवर्तमानो दृश्यते. Then Brahman also enjoys existence, and the universe, beginning space, also enjoys existence, and therefore that there is an inherence of Sat or existence from Brahman into the universe. Then further we ask, Vilakshanatvam vikalpya dushanantaram aha. Now Vashyakara shows vikalpa, different kinds of vilakshanatvam, different degrees of vilakshanatvam Vashyakara shows. And you say, Sankhya says that vilakshanatvam, dissimilarity, is a reason why Brahman and Jagat cannot be related as cause and effect. Alright. What do you mean by dissimilarity between Brahman and Jagat? So Vashyakara presents three alternatives and refutes them one by one. Vilakshanattvena cha karanena Brahma prakritikatvam jagado dushayata. Sankhya, which finds the fault between Jagat and Brahma. Brahma Prakritikam Jagatah Dushayata. When Sankhya says that Brahman cannot be the material cause of Jagat because Vilakshanattvena Chakaranena, because of Vilakshanatvam. Alright. Kim Asheshasya Brahma Svabhavasya Anuvartanam Vilakshanatvam Abhiprayate. When you say Vilakshanatvam, that Brahma and Jagat are dissimilar in nature. So what is the extent of dissimilarity that you are talking about? I am saying that Brahma and Jagat are totally dissimilar. Asheshasya Brahma Svabhavasya Anuvartanam Vilakshanatvam, that no part of Brahman is found in Jagat. Is that the kind of dissimilarity you mean? Uda, yasya kasyajit, or some aspect of Brahman is inheres in Jagat. Atha Chaitanyasyedi, or the consciousness that is Brahman does not inhere in Jagat. So, are you saying that nothing whatever from Brahman inheres in Jagat, or only some part inheres in Jagat, or that consciousness Brahman does not inhere in Jagat? What do you mean by dissimilarity? So let us read that sentence here. We have already seen this anyway. So prathame vikalpe samasta prakriti vikarocheda prasanga. हाँ वाचन बाकी है अच्छा. All right. So let us read some previous sentence. Vilakshanattvena cha karanena Brahma prakritikatvam Jagatah Dushayata Kim Asheshasya Brahma Svabhavasya Ananuvartanam Vilakshanatvam Abhiprayate Uta Yasya Kasyachita Atha Chaitanyasya Iti Vaktavyam. Sankhya Vaktavyam. Sankhya has to say this. Who is Sankhya? Vilakshanattvena karanena. Sankhya is advancing Vilakshanatvam, dissimilarity, as karanam, as a reason for Brahma Prakritikam Jagato Dushayata. As a reason why Brahman cannot be the material cause of Jagat because of dissimilarity. This is the position of Sankhya. In the very first sutra it was said, Vilakshanatvat na Vilakshanatvat asya. So let us understand this Vilakshanatvam. Let us understand the dissimilarity now. Vilakshanatvam is karana. So Vilakshanatvam, dissimilarity, is advanced by you as a reason why Brahman cannot be the material cause of the Jagat. Okay. Kim asheshasya brahma svabhavasya anuvartanam vilakshanatvam abhiprayate. When you say vilakshanatvam, dissimilarity, do you mean that there is no part of Brahman is found in Jagat? Is that the kind of dissimilarity you mean? That nothing from the cause be found? That will be wrong. Because Sankhya is Satkarya Vadina, by the way. So anyway, Satka, so therefore, if total absence is there, then Satkaryatvam is not there. So, are you saying that Brahman is totally absent in Jagat? No part of Brahman follows or inheres in Jagat? Is that the kind of Vilakshanatvam you mean? Or, Uta yasya kasyachita, or some part of Brahman is not found in the Jagat and some part is found. Atha Chaitanyasyeti, or particularly consciousness that Brahman is, that consciousness does not inhere in Jagat. That's the main reason, in fact, that Brahman is consciousness and Jagat is. Two reasons are stated. Two dissimilarities are pointed out. Acetanatvam, Ashuddhatvam. That Brahman is Chetanam, Jagat is Achetanam. Brahman is Shuddham, Jagat is Ashuddham. So you mean that because so Brahman is consciousness, all right, but then only that consciousness does not inhere in Jagat. Is there a dissimilarity? Or nothing whatever of Brahman inheres in Jagat, that's a dissimilarity? Or some part of Brahman inheres in Jagat, not other part, is that the dissimilarity? Okay, then says Ratnaprabha, Jagati samastasya brahma swabhavasya chetanatvadehe anuvartamanat na brahma karya pakshe. So he is saying that samastasya brahmabhavasya chetanatvadehe anuvartamanat, that Brahman is conscious, Chetanam, sentient or conscious, and samastasya brahma svabhavasya. Entire nature of Brahman, anurvartamanam, does not inhere in Jagat, and that's the first paksha. Therefore, na brahma karyam Jagat. Therefore, Jagat is not the product of Brahman, iti pakshe. Sarvasamye prakriti vikaritvam uktam syat tat asangatam ityaha. So are you saying that the prakriti and vikruti, the material cause and effect, must be identical in all the ways? Are you saying that the clay and the pot must be totally identical? Is that the similarity you want? So when you say dissimilarity, the cause is the reason for not being related as cause and effect, then do you mean that the material cause and effect must be similar in every way? That's the pratham vikalpa. So the Bhashyakara says, prathame vikalpe samasta prakriti vikaro cheda prasangaha. So do you mean to say that similarity means that Brahman and Jagat must be similar in every way? In that case, samasta prakriti vikara uchcheda prasangaha, there will be no cause and effect at all, because cause and effect are totally identical. Then which will you say is cause and which will you say is effect when they are totally identical? Bhashyakara continues, if you look at Nyaya Nirnaya, astu samastasya brahmasvavasya jagati anuvartamanam astu cha jagatah brahma prakritikatvam kahani. Suppose you ask, astu samastasya brahmasvavasya jagati anuvartanam, that every aspect of Brahman does not follow or does not flow or does not inhere in the Jagat. Astucha Jagata Brahma Prakritikatvam, and still we say that Jagat is the effect of Brahman. Nacha Jagata Brahma Prakritikatve Samasta Tasvabhavasya Jagadi Anuvartan Anupatti Sarvasyapi Karye Sarvakarupa Anuvruttau Asati Visheshe Prakriti Vikrutitva Asiddheti. Same thing. If the entire nature of the material cause inheres in effect, then they cannot be even distinguished. How will you distinguish one as cause, other is effect, if both are totally identical? So Bhashyakara says, nahi asati atishaye prakriti vikarah iti bhavati. Nahi asati atishaye. If atishaya means some distinction, if the effect does not enjoy no distinction at all, then prakriti vikara iti na bhavati. If clay and pot are totally similar, clay just looks like pot or pot looks just like clay, then prakriti vikara nasti. The material cause and effect, that relationship cannot be. So some distinction must be there. Certainly, pot enjoys some distinction from the clay. Clay was the form of a lump, and now it's in this form. So there is quite a distinction between lump and this pot in terms of their name and form and usage and everything. Then alone they can be related as cause and effect. If the pot look like the lump of clay, then how will you say this is cause and that is effect? Meaning that as far as the material cause and effect are concerned, the effect always enjoys some distinction from the material cause. Madhyama kalpam asiddhya nirasyati. Madhyama, what is the middle one? The second one was, do you mean that nothing from Brahman inheres? So, that you cannot say that no aspect of Brahman inheres in Jagat. Some aspect does inhere in Jagat. So, Bhashyakara says, Dvitiye cha asiddhatvam. You cannot say that no aspect of Brahman inheres in Jagat. That cannot be proven. Bhashyakara continues, Drishyate hi satta lakshano brahma svabhavah akashadishu anuvartamanah ityuktam. Ityuktam we already said just a little while ago. Drishyate hi satta lakshano brahma svabhavah. That Brahman enjoys satta or existence and Jagat also enjoys existence. Therefore, satta lakshana, that aspect of Brahman of the nature of existence definitely inheres in Jagat. Therefore, you cannot say there is total dissimilarity. When you say there should be similarity, you cannot insist upon total similarity because then the relation of cause and effect will not be. If you say that Brahman and Jagat are totally dissimilar, that also is not true because there is some similarity. The Sat aspect of Brahman does inhere in Jagat. Now we come to third. What's that? Chaitanyasya. That Brahman is Chaitanyam and there is no inherence of Chaitanyam in Jagat. Therefore, there cannot be cause and effect. Antimam asadharanatvam nirakaroti. The third option also is here replied, answered or dismissed based on the asadharanam, that this kind of thing does not exist. Bhashyakara says, Tritiyetu drishtanta abhavaha. Tritiyetu drishtanta abhavaha. Please show us a drishtanta that there is something other than Chaitanyam that gives rise to something else. Because Vedanta claims that Brahman is the cause of the entire creation. So consciousness is the cause of entire creation. This is what we say. You give us a drishtanta that anything that is in Jagat is produced from something that is not consciousness. You show us. So, Bhashyakara says, Kimhi yat chaitanyena ananvitam tata अब्रह्म प्रकृतिकं दृष्टम् इति ब्रह्मवादिनं प्रति उदाह्रियेत समस्तस्य वस्तुजातस्य ब्रह्म प्रकृतिकत्व अभ्युपगमात्. So what example, O Sankhya, what example will you present before us to a Brahmavadi? Who is the Brahmavadi? Brahmavadi says, Samastasya Vastujatasya Brahma Prakritikatva Abhivagamat. We say that entire Jagat is the effect of Brahman. This is what we say. To us now you tell us, what is that is produced from something other than Brahman? So, kimhi yat chaitanyena ananvitam tad brahma aprakritikam. So, you tell us what does not contain sentiency is produced from something other than Brahman. They will say pradhanam. We say pradhanam itself is product of Brahman. You see, we say that everything is product of Brahman. Even if a part can be said to be the effect of pradhanam, ultimately pradhanam also is the effect of Brahman. Therefore, what can you present as an illustration? That there is something in the universe that is not the product of Brahman, not the product of consciousness, so, or that there is something which is not the product of Brahman. So, yat chaitanya ananvidam, so that which is devoid of the consciousness or sentiency, tad abbrahma prakritikam, that is caused by something other than Brahman. Drishtamiti brahmavadanam prati udahriyata. What example, O Sankhya, what example will give to Vedantin that there is something that does not enjoy consciousness or sentiency is produced from something other than Brahman? What example do we have? Because we say that everything is produced from Brahman. Say Ratnaprabha, nacha jagat na brahma prakritikam acetanatvat avidyavaditi drishtanta asti. Suppose he wants to give drishtanta. Ignorance is drishtanta. So ignorance is insentient. Nacha jagat na brahma prakritikam acetanatvat avidyavada. Avidya is acetanam and not brahma prakritikam. Avidya is not created from Brahman and avidya is insentient and not created from Brahman. So here is an example of something insentient not created from Brahman. You cannot say that. Why? Anaditvasya upaditvat. Avidya is not a product. We say show us a product which you can demonstrate as not produced from Brahman. You show us a product. Ignorance, if you say that is not produced from Brahman, but ignorance is anadi, means it is not a product, therefore it is not an example. Nacha dhvamse sadhya avyapagata. Then he says, like dhvams, how about dhvamsa? Dhvamsa is sadhya brahma prakritikatvam, you know. So, you cannot say dhvamsa is not produced from Brahman. Tasyapi karya samskaratmakasya bhavatvena. So, we say that dhvamsa or destruction also is a positive entity. Samskaratmakasya. Because when you say destruction, you do not say just destruction. You do not say dhvamsa. You say ghatadvamsa, patadvamsa. There is the destroyed pot, destruction of pot, destruction of cloth. So along with destruction, some samskara always follows. The pot and cloth always follow. You cannot say destruction happened, you know, then it will not convey anything. Destruction of house happened, destruction of this city happened, you know. Sometimes earthquake, the whole little village is just sink. And so, So that destruction also is always connected to some entity, positive entity. Therefore, destruction also is a bhava rupa, also is positive. And anything that is positive is existent, and any existent contains existence of Brahman. Therefore, it is product of Brahman. So, nacha dvamse sadhya avyapakata tasyapi karya samskaratmakasya bhavatvena Brahma prakritikatvat, because dvams also is an existing entity, and whatever exists contains existence from Brahman. Therefore, it is the product of Brahman. Abhavatvagrahe. Suppose somebody says no, because Naiyayikas would say that dvamsa is non-existent. Alright. Abhavatvagrahe anaditva anadi bhavatvasya upadikatvat. Then also it is anadi. In that case, it is still not a product. Therefore, it also does not serve as an example. Simply technical thing, But here, the Vedantin says this, give us an example of some entity that is insentient and produced from something other than Brahman. We claim that everything is produced from Brahman. You show us something that is insentient and not produced from Brahman. There is nothing. You say pot from clay from earth, ultimately from existence. So we said that existence at Brahman is inheres existence, inheres in everything in Jagat. Therefore, there is similarity. And therefore, Jagat can be so Brahmakaryam. You show us something which is not Brahmakaryam, and still it is there. So he says Dvamsa. Says no, Dvamsa also is positive, that also has existence, that also is Brahmakaryam. Samprati kalpatra sadharanam doshamaha. So remember what were the three options. One is when you say that dissimilarity between Brahman and Jagat, what kind of similarity you insist upon? When you say there should be similarity, let us put it this way. When you there is similarity between material cause and effect, what kind of similarity? Are you saying that they should be similar in all aspects? In that case, they cannot have the relationship of cause and effect. So, no, they should be similar in some aspect. Then we already say that Brahman is existence, Jagat also is existent, so there is similarity in some aspect, and therefore Brahman can be the material cause of Jagat. He says no, we say similarity means both must be conscious. That Brahman is conscious and Jagat also should be conscious. Then alone we can accept Brahma as the Jagat Karanam. So alright, you tell us that there is something unconscious which came from an unconscious thing. You tell us. There is no example because we say that whatever there is a product of Brahman. That you cannot give us an example of something produced from something other than Brahman. So thus all the three pakshas of the Sankhya claiming that there should be similarity between material cause and effect, they have been dismissed. Samprati kalpatra sadharanam doshamaha. In all the three kalpa, the vikalpa, the options, the sadharana dosha, the common defect is there, agameti. So Bhashyakara says, Agam virodhastu prasiddha eva. That your claim. Now, so first of all, Sankhya has no ground to not accept Brahma as Jagat Karana. All the three grounds have been dismissed. And further, your claim that Jagat is produced from Pradhanam and not Jagat and not Brahman. Sankhya says that Pradhanam is the material cause of Jagat and not Brahman. That is Agama Virodastu Prasiddha eva. That position definitely contradicts what the Agama, what the Vedas have to say. Says Bhashyakara, Chetanam Brahma Jagatah Karanam Prakritischa Iti Agama Tatparyasya Prasaditatvat. In the Samanvaya Adhyaya, this has been already established. What? Chetanam Brahma Jagatah Karanam Prakritischa. That Brahman, which is consciousness, is both the efficient as well as the material cause of the creation, is what Agama says. Now, it took the whole chapter to establish this, by the way. The first chapter of the Adhyaya of Brahma Sutra, which is called Samanvaya Adhyaya, there, what did the Vedantin establish, or Sutrakara? Is that Brahman is the efficient material as well as efficient cause of the creation. This is the Tatparya. That is what all the Upanishads have their purport in presenting Brahman as the material, efficient as well as material cause of Jagat. Janmadyasya yatah. That is the first sutra. Athato Brahma Jignasa is the preface sutra. And Janmadyasya yatah is the first sutra of Brahma Sutra. And that Yata Atah Brahmana Janmadi Asya Jagatah. So Janma and everything from Jagat is from Brahman. And so Brahman is the material cause as well as efficient cause. And all that was subsequently verified or justified or validated rather in all the Upanishads. So different passages were taken from different Upanishads and showed how all of them have that purport in Brahma. So Chetanam Brahma Jagatah Karanam Prakritischa Agama Tatparyasya Prasaditatvat. In the Samanvaya, we already established how Brahman is the consciousness, is the material as well as efficient cause of the universe. Says Nyayana, Brahmana Manantargamyatvam Angikritya Uktam Tadapi Nastedi Uktanavada Purvakam Aha. Brahmana Manantargamyatvam. That Brahman can be known from Pramanam other than Vedas, like Anumanam. That Brahman can be known also from inference, that is other than Shabda, other than Vedas, which was the Sankhya's position, Angikritya Uktam. That even if you accept Tarka as a Pramanam for Brahman, then also, by Tarka also, you cannot disprove. See, Vedantin does not have to prove that Brahma is Jagat Karanam. Because for Vedantin, Shabda is the Pramanam. And Shabda says that Brahman is the Nimitta and Upadana Karanam. Now you disprove that. So Sankhya wants to disprove that. Vilakshanatvat. So he presented Tarka of the reasoning. Vilakshanatam, dissimilarity, therefore what the Upanishad says is not right. You follow? So with Tarka, Sankhya is questioning what the Upanishad says. So with reasoning, you establish that you cannot disprove this. We don't have to prove that Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Because we use reasoning only to understand what the Upanishad says and not to prove what the Upanishad says. Whereas Sankhya says that since Brahman is an existing entity, therefore it should be available for other means of knowledge such as perception, such as inference, like earth and others are. So it's alright. Let us say that by Tarka you can disprove what we are saying. So we showed to Sankhya how he cannot disprove that Brahma is Jagat Karanam. His reason was dissimilarity. So we said what? First of all, we gave the example of dissimilarity, like how the human being, who is a living being, is the material cause of nail, etc., which are insentient, or how cow dung that is insentient is the cause for the sentient entity such as a scorpion. Then he said, no, it is not the conscious being, it is the body of the human being that is the cause of the nail and hair. Is the cow dung that is the cause of the body of the sentient. Alright. But then also very similarity. If you say body, human body is the cause of the nail and hair, where is the similarity? What a great dissimilarity is there between them. So if you say that there is similarity must be there between the cause and effect, that is not there. And then again you say that when you want similarity, what kind of similarity you want? You want similarity in every aspect? You want similarity in some aspect? You want similarity in consciousness aspect? If you want similarity in all aspects, then there cannot be the relation of material cause and effect, because you can't distinguish the two. If you want similarity in some aspect, then it is there that Brahman also is existent, Jagat also is existent, so similarity in some aspect is there. Oh, you want similarity in consciousness? Then we say that you tell us, where is the example that something is produced from unconsciousness? You tell us. We say that the Jagat is produced from consciousness. You show us some entity which is not produced from some not that which is not consciousness, or not that is Brahman. He is no example at all. Therefore, his argument of similarity and dissimilarity is dismissed. Thirdly, your claim, all these three alternatives, in fact they are all against Agama anyway, because we already proven in the previous chapter that Brahman is the Nimitta, efficient, as well as the material cause of the creation. Now, so far we accepted the scope of Tarka in establishing the cause and effect relationship. Now we don't accept it. Says Nyayana, Brahmana manantara gamyatvam angikritya uktam. So far the discussion was accepting that Brahman can be induced from logic. Tadapi nasti. In fact, Brahman is not available for any means of knowledge such as inference. There has no scope in Brahman. Iti uktanavada purakamaha. Reiterating what the Sankhya said, then it is dismissed here by Bhashyakara yattu iti. So next sentence is yattu uktam parinishpannatvat brahmane pramanantarani sambhaveyuhu iti tadapi manorathamatram. This was a main argument of Sankhya. Yattu parinishpannatvat. Parinishpan means already existing entity. So Sankhya said that an entity that already existing must be available for other means of knowledge such as perception, inference, such as earth and others are available. So parinishpannatvat brahmani pramanantarani sambhaveyuhu. Since Brahman is an existing entity, therefore other pramanam other means of knowledge must have a scope with reference to Brahman. Any that claim of yours is tadapi manoratha matram. There also is merely a figment of imagination of mind. There is simply a dream of the mind that Brahman should be available for other means of knowledge. रूपादि अभावाद्धि नायमर्थः प्रत्यक्षस्य गोचरः। रूपादि अभावाद्धि नायमर्थः प्रत्यक्षस्य गोचरः। रूपादि अभावात्, रूपादि, रूप means what? Shabdam, shabdatvam, sparshatvam, rupatvam. If Brahman, contains sound, then you would know it with ears. Brahman could be touched, then you can know it by the organ of touch. If Brahman had color or form, you could see Brahman with your eyes. If Brahman had a taste, you could taste it with your organ of taste. If Brahman had smell, well, you could then smell Brahman. Ashabdam, asparsham, arupam, avyayam, tatharasam, nityam, agandhavachyat. So, rupadi abhavat, Brahman doesn't have the form, color or any other attribute. Therefore, nayamartha pratyakshasya gochara. Pratyaksha means perception, means the perception of sense organs. So Brahman cannot be perceived by sense organs because Brahman does not have any attribute which is required for perception by sense organs. As we said, the sense organs can perceive an object only when an object possesses a particular attribute. So organ of hearing can perceive something which is the attribute of sound. An organ of sight can perceive something which is the attribute of color or form. But attributeless Brahman cannot become the object of perception by sense organs. Therefore, Brahman cannot be available for perception. The next one. लिंगादि अभावाच्च न अनुमानादीना। Lingaadi अभावाच्च. Linga means a ground of inference, So linga, ground of such as smoke is a ground of inference for inferring the presence of fire. Similarly, Brahman does not have any ground of inference at all because that ground of inference was perceptible. Inference also is based on perception. So even though you do not perceive the fire directly, you can infer the presence of fire from the perception of smoke. But if nothing, Brahman is not perceptible at all, how can there be then a ground for inference? That there is no linga. Brahman doesn't have any ground of inference because of which you can connect, you can infer the existence or nature of Brahman. Also, Ratnabhava said that Purokta Manudya Brahmana Shushka Tarka Vishatva Sambhavad. Purokta Manudya, reiterating Sankhya argument, Brahmana Shushka Tarka Vishatva Sambhavad. Brahman is not approachable by Shushka Tarka, meaning Tarka or the reasoning independent of Vedas. Reasoning which is based on the Veda is acceptable to us. Reasoning independent of Veda cannot have scope with reference to Brahman. Na tarkena akshepaha yattu yuktam. Therefore you cannot question what we say based on tarka. Then says Ratnavara, linga sadrusya pada pravritti nimittanam abhavat anumana upamana shabdanam agocharaha. That yatha sankham, you know this compound. Linga, so lingasya abhavat. Deva anumana agocharaha. Because there is no linga, there is no ground of inference in Brahman, therefore Brahman cannot, therefore the anumanam, inference, cannot have scope in Brahman because there is no linga. Sadrusya. Second, upamanam. Upamanam is comparison. If there is similarity between two objects, then you can say that this object is similar to that, like goho, like a cow, and gavaya, another animal. Looks similar to cow, but not quite the cow. So when somebody says that gavaya is similar to cow, then when you go to forest and you see an animal which is similar to cow, then you say that, hey, this must be gavaya. So this is the upamana. Upamana requires similarity. Both are similar, Swami. You can recognize that person, he looks like his father. Sometimes children look just like the father. So similarity is there. So from that, out of many children, oh, this must be son of so and so because his eyes are like that and the eyebrows are like that, etc. So similarity becomes a ground for upamanam or comparison. And Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. Shabda Pravritti, you can describe something provided some nimittas are there. So, Shabda or the description by words is possible when there is all these different grounds available. Either the jati, then guna, and then jati, guna, kriya, sambandha, and then the rudi. So, jati means something is born. It possesses certain species, then you can describe it. Kriya, if it performs some activity like a driver, you can describe him. Then guna, possesses some red, yellow, etc. color, you can describe. Or sambandha, is my cousin, etc. Then you can describe. Or rudi, some kind of common name is there, you can describe. These are the nimittas, so this is the ground for something being described by words. But Brahman doesn't have jati because ajayamano is ajayamano na jayate. Brahman doesn't have jati. Brahman is also nishkriyam, nishkaram, therefore doesn't have any kriya, doesn't have any modification, is not related to asangohyam purusha, not related to anybody or anything. So whatever nimittas or reasons or grounds that are required for describing something in words, those grounds are absent in Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is not available for being described in words. So Brahman is not available for perception because it does not have any attributes. Brahman is not available for inference because it doesn't have any ground of inference. Not available for upamanam, similarity, because there is no sadrishyam. Not available for being described in words because all the nimittas required for words are not there. Therefore, Brahman is not available for pramanam other than agama. Therefore, your whole exercise of trying to disprove something that Upanishad says, with argument you cannot disprove what Upanishad says. That's what is meant by no word can disprove what Upanishad says, no argument can disprove what Upanishad says, whatever is seen cannot disprove what Upanishad says, whatever is described cannot disprove what Upanishad says. They cannot disprove what Upanishad says. We don't have to prove what Upanishad says. We accept what Upanishad says. And we present the Anukula Tarka. Tarka, the reasoning, to explain what the Upanishad says and not to prove what Upanishad says. But anybody else cannot disprove what the Upanishad says based on any available means of knowledge. So that's the line of argument here. We'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada यपूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।